The fifth part of our coding activity for the classes and objects exercise, part 5, was to add a drop-off method. So we're creating slowly but surely. We're modeling just the idea of a bus. A bus has a fare, costs a certain amount of money to ride, and a rider count. We've made getter methods so that we could figure out what the fare is and how many riders are currently on board. And then we added a pickup method so that we could start picking up riders. And we picked up 3 people, and then we picked up 5 more, and we tested to make sure that that pickup method was working properly. So now we're going to add a drop-off method. So, because we got all these people on the bus and they need to get off. Let's see, let's just read it. Add a drop-off method to the bus class that takes a number of people getting off the bus and subtracts this from the rider count. If the number of people getting off the bus is more than the current rider count, then the rider count should just go to 0. In other words, the rider count should never go negative. And then we're going to test this method in our tester class by calling it at least twice and producing some human readable output, just like we did before. So we picked up 3 riders, and then we pick up 5 riders, and then we're going to drop off 2 riders, and then we're going to try to drop off 8 riders, and we should see that our rider count never goes below 0. So this is a little more tricky of a method because we can't just subtract from the rider count. We have to check and make sure that we don't go below 0. And there's a lot of different ways that you could implement this. Let's go to our bus class and think about it. First of all, the method signature. Again, the drop-off method, it doesn't return anything. It just drops off however many riders the user tells us to drop off. So that is our method signature. It doesn't return anything, and the return type is void. And we are taking one parameter or one argument from the people using our code, and that's just the number of riders. So at first, I might just do this dot rider count minus equals riders, and and that's enough. And I can in this case, there is the danger of ending up with a negative number of riders on the bus, which of course isn't possible. So I'm going to just add one more statement here and say that if this dot rider count is less than 0, then we're just going to set this dot rider count equal to 0. Again, there's a lot of different ways to do this method, but basically we're subtracting however many riders the user tells us to subtract from the rider count, and if that ends up getting us into negative territory, we're just going to set it and make sure that it's 0. So now we can go to our tester class, and I've got these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines of code that are testing our pickup method, and I'll write that here. Now that my code's getting a little bit longer, I want to do a little annotating. So test the pickup method, and I'm going to copy this whole section of code and just use this to test the drop-off method. Drop-off. And let me just go line by line and adjust this. So we're going to print the name of the bus again, my bus. So, and we're dropping off, let's say, 2 riders. And so I'm going to do my bus dot drop off 2. And this line is perfectly good. So we should see, we know that we picked up 3 and then we picked up 5, so we had a total of 8. And so now we should have a total of 6 riders on this line of code. And then it says, now we're not going to pick up any more riders. We're going to, is dropping off. And we said, let's try to drop off 8 riders. Now we know there's not 8 people on the bus, but let's just see what happens when we try to do that. We're going to do the drop off my bus dot drop off 8, and then we should see that this just says 0. So let's compile and run. And take a look at the output. It just came. So this is all the output we just produced. Everything up until this point is what we expect. We currently have 8 riders, and then we drop off 2, and now there's 6. That's good. And then we try to drop off 8, but there's only 6, and so that just gets us to 0. And so we've met the specification now for part 5 of this project, and in the final part of this video series we will address step 6.